yes, there's yet another Nintendo Switch 2 rumor. On 4chan, a user leaked a load of Nintendo Switch 2 information, which then pretty quickly got removed. So the Switch 2 is code-named Hawk, or HWK, and dev kit code name is HTW. So apparently it's going to have some small gimmicks alongside the Switch's hybrid features. Now, I wonder what those gimmicks could be. Are we finally going to get different Joy-Cons? Is that what they're alluding to? I don't know. Because when the Switch dropped, I was really hoping that there would be different types of Joy-Con. Just like we've seen like the Hori versions, we've seen Bimbok ones, you know, I've covered them all on this channel. I thought we'd get like some Pro Controller style Joy-Cons. I would love there to be different options for the Switch 2 because they're just losing money by not doing this, Nintendo. What are you doing? Do it for different people's hand sizes and stuff, right? Moving on, apparently performance is comparable to the PlayStation 4. Now that would be amazing because then effectively it's going to be in line with, you know, like the Steam Deck and stuff like that, which we need to see a boost in performance for the Switch. I understand when they launched the Switch, they'd just come off the back of the Wii U, which was a massive flop. It was basically me that bought one and no one else. And, you know, they were playing it safe. So they were using old, you know, the Tegra that they're using is a 2015 chip. So it was already 2 years old when they went with it because I suppose they just thought, maybe this won't be that good. So why should they spend all that money if it's going to flop, right? But with the Switch now being one of the best and most selling gaming consoles ever of all time, I think Nintendo need to see that and go, you know what, now we should, you know, pull out some more big guns, you know. We're still not going to see like next gen performance compared to the Xbox and the PS5, but, you know, PS4 performance would be amazing. Moving on again, it says a 7-inch 1080p OLED screen. So basically it's taking the Switch OLED and making it 1080p instead of 720p. I don't really see the point of that, so that makes me think maybe this isn't correct. I think 720p at 7 inches is absolutely fine. I would personally rather have the option to run this screen at 720p at like 60 hertz or even like 120 hertz, you know, like get more FPS out of it, because 1080p on such a small screen, what's the point? I don't know. Even the Steam Deck doesn't have a 1080p screen and it looks amazing. I mean, the Switch OLED screen is miles better because it's OLED, but a 1080p screen will just make it extra crisp if it's got the power behind it to actually be able to run games at a suitable frame rate, right? Then it says DLSS support. Now, I covered this a long time ago, saying that the Switch needs DLSS. So, you know, it's, I can't remember it off the top of my head. What is it? Deep Learning Super Sampling or something like that. Basically, it takes a lower resolution and upscales it. So instead of, let's say, just take 4K, if you're trying to play a 4K game on a 4K screen and you don't have as powerful hardware to run it, and it's not giving good FPS, what DLSS will do is actually render the game effectively at like 1440p and then upscale it to 4K. So you're getting the frame rate of 1440p, but the visuals are almost as good as 4K. So we need DLSS in the Switch. I'm all for that because we're going to get a big FPS boost from that. It's the same with the Steam Deck with FSR. That's the same principle, right? You're rendering a lower resolution and then upscaling it, and it works wonders on the Steam Deck. Next up, it says 4K at 30 FPS seems doable. So they're not saying that that's definitely a thing, but potentially, maybe docked, we could see up to 4K 30. Again, I would love it if Nintendo went down the route that Xbox and PlayStation have gone, where you've got like different versions. So you've got fidelity mode for higher resolution and lower frame rate, and then performance mode for lower resolution and higher frame rate. I'd love that. I don't think Nintendo will go down that route. That seems way too specific. You know what I mean? Like it seems too current for them. Nintendo are a bit backward, but maybe it can do 4K 30. Again, that would be amazing if it did. And it says Nintendo provided screenshots of a Star Fox-ish tech demo to show off the pros and cons. Don't know what they're meaning by that, but cool. It then says RayTracing support. Don't expect to see it much. I don't care about ray tracing on a Switch console. Do you know what I mean? Like, meh. I'll personally be playing this handheld, providing it's a hybrid again, but they're saying it is. But yeah, ray tracing, I don't care about. DLSS, I do. So people that don't know what ray tracing is for rendering real lighting techniques. So if the sun was up there, all the casting of shadows and reflections will be correct to real life, as opposed to what we see in games where it's not, right? But ray tracing support, I don't care about that. DLSS, yes. It says 16 gigabytes of RAM, 2 gigabytes intended for the operating system, therefore games are targeting 10 gig. That's great. Like if that is a thing, that will be fantastic. Higher RAM, bring it on. Like that will be really, really good. We've got then cartridges will be a little wider than the Switches. Height and depth are unchanged or very similar. So it looks like we're going to go for a new form factor of cartridges, if this rumor is to be believed, right? And yeah, fine, providing that slot can take the Switch cartridges. This has to be backwards compatible. Nintendo have to make this backwards compatible. It's going to suck so badly if they don't. And obviously I don't expect it to be backwards compatible to the Switch. I don't expect these games, these new ones, to work on the old one, but I'd love the old Switch games to work on the new one. So maybe, we've seen it in the past with different consoles with the slots that interchange. Even going from the Game Boy Advance, they accepted the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color games, and then later we moved on and saw that they weren't interchangeable. Then it says next-gen patches are possible. So Nintendo's been pushing out next-gen exclusives. So I suppose what they're meaning is just like we've seen with Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and even to the point of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, because it's horrendous. Maybe we'll see some patches that make these games just run perfectly on the Switch 2, whatever this is, or maybe this is just the Switch Pro, whatever they go with, the Super Nintendo Switch. I'd love it to be called the Super Switch. But yeah, I expect that, because I've done a video already about Tears of the Kingdom, and kind of at the end of it, despite being quite excited for it, the performance looks horrendous, and it would be really good to see, a better version available on this next Switch. But then it goes to expect to launch in the second half of 2023. The second half of this year. So that's like Christmas this year. That would be perfect timing, right? When should you release a console? At Christmas, when all the little kids are like, yeah, I want the new one. And I'm one of those kids, right? And I'm sure you probably are too. That's why you're watching this. But yeah, 2023 launch. To be perfectly honest, let's just talk about this now. That's basically the end of this rumor, and it is probably a load of baloney. But it's time for, Nintendo to bring something new, right? It is totally time for them to bring something to the table, because the Switch is 6 years old now. It's running 8-year-old hardware, and it is showing. Breath of the Wild, the performance of that, the flickering and stuff. Go watch my other video for close-ups of this. Whilst the game's going to be great, it just looks pretty bad. I'm sorry, it does look bad. And the same with Scarlet and Violet. I know, Game Freak suck at making 3D games, but again, they need extra power behind them. And I fully think that they were planning on doing a Switch Pro, that during, all the lockdowns and all that stuff where there was huge shortages of components, they just went, let's just stick an OLED screen in it. And that's why we saw a full revamp. Rather than just an OLED screen, we got the metal housing and all that of the Switch OLED. And I swear that was intended for a Pro, and they just didn't have the resources. So they just ditched it. And now there's a time for them to actually release a Pro model, especially when you're looking at stuff. I know the Steam Deck and stuff is PC. It's different. I'm a player of both. I love the Switch and I love the Steam Deck, right? I love PC and Nintendo. That is my main thing. But when we're looking at PC handhelds now, even the Steam Deck, that runs stuff so well with FSR, the equivalent of DLSS, right? That would be so good on the new system. And now we're seeing new stuff like the Asus ROG Ally, and that just looks even more insane. That's 2 times the performance of the Steam Deck again, and that's coming out this year. And all these other handhelds that are supposedly coming out. There's even a leak about a Sony PS5 handheld, effectively. Yeah, it's going to be for remote play, but even Sony might be entering the handheld game again. And Nintendo are the king of handhelds. They always have been and they always will be, but they now need to start bringing something out. Even if they just announce it at the end of this year for a 2024 launch, I've always been saying end of 2024 is when I expect the Switch 2 to actually drop. And this leak would kind of coincide with that. If we saw a Pro or a Switch 2 coming out even at the end of this year, that would be amazing. My mind will blow, like absolutely. And this channel will be flooded with all you'd need to know about it when we actually get some official news. But anyway, that's enough rambling. What do you think about this rumor? Of course, it's probably a load of rubbish because we've discussed rumors for pros and twos and stuff for so long now that I've not even touched on them for so long because I just got bored of it, right? But it kind of seems like this might be a thing. So let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. And whilst you're here, go check out mine and AJ's podcast where we discuss all things gaming, not just Nintendo, but everything gaming. So check out a video from us over there and check out another video from me here. And well, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe.